local reaction tonight after the U.S. Department of Justice says that thousands of Louisvillians with mental health problems unnecessarily wind up in the hospital or in the hands of police.
The critical report claims the lack of state mental health services could be violating the Americans with Disabilities Act. Wave News reporter David Mattingly finds Governor Beshear pushing back on these findings.
John, basically the findings are that the state isn't providing enough mental health services at the community level, and the consequences of that include more of the mentally ill landing in the hospital or in jail.
The 28-page report comes from a year-long investigation by the DOJ exposing how far state officials have to go to meet basic mental health needs. Governor Beshear, appearing surprised by the release of the report, would not comment on its findings.
We just want to make sure that we're on the right track, that we are serving everyone, that we are putting mental health first, but that the report is also accurate and within the law.
The DOJ report comes at a time when mental health professionals describe a state system in crisis, where there aren't enough providers to meet demand and rampant burnout. Focusing on Louisville, the DOJ says because of the lack of community-based services, law enforcement officers are routine responders to mental health crises in Louisville. Many of these encounters could have been avoided with community-based services, and those community services could have provided an alternative to incarceration. Mayor Craig Greenberg puts the burden of the problem on the state and federal government.
We need more funding for nonprofit organizations, for the state to provide the access to mental health services that so many people in our community need.
Governor Beshear points to recent improvements to mental health services. He blames the Republican-dominated legislature for not approving funding for mobile crisis teams, a DOJ recommendation to keep the mentally ill in treatment and out of jail. The DOJ now wants to have conversations about its findings.
We hadn't heard from them in 11 months until yesterday, and so I'm hoping that we can start having those. I believe that there are some aspects of the report that can provide a very good guidepost and will hopefully spur the General Assembly.
A link to the full report can be found with this story on wave3.com. I reached out to Senate President Robert Stivers, who disputes the governor's remarks. A spokesperson says the General Assembly actually allocated double what the governor was asking for. David Mattingly, Wave News.
All right, thank you so much, David.